Hi guys, hi, how's it going? How you doing today? Hopefully today finds you well. Today I am doing the next video in my palette roulette series in which I review a palette that is in my collection, that might also be in your collection, and I show you some pictures, live swatches most of the time, and then we pick another palette. So I hope that you're here for that today. If you are, please keep on watching. For those of you new here, hi, my name is Donna. I am a lover of all things high-end, colorful beauty and self-care. I also work in the beauty industry as a district leader for Ulta, and therefore I get a lot of education in my position about the beauty products that I'm bringing to you. I like to bring you all that education through things like reviews on my channel. So you're going to see a lot of those here, but I also do project panning, shop my stash, general makeup chit chat, and if you're here, you probably also love to talk about makeup. I implore you, please subscribe to my channel before you take off today. I would love to welcome you into my family here, so just let me know in the comments section if you have subscribed. I would love to personally welcome you to the channel. And with that, let's roll into this palette review. All right, so we again have some weird things going on with the lighting because outside is kind of crazy odd. It is windy, but also sunshiny, but also the clouds are kind of moving around in the sky. So if the coloring comes in and out, please forgive me. I'm trying to get the setting on the camera just right, but the world doesn't allow for that when you are trying to use natural light as much as possible. So here we are. Today I am reviewing the IBY Enlighten eyeshadow palette. This is an eyeshadow palette that came to me via, I believe, Ipsy. It was in an Ipsy X or an Ipsy Plus at one point in time, and it is such a beautiful palette, but it sat in my collection for so long before I actually opened it up. These are the shades in this eyeshadow palette, and I think when I pulled this in, I said these two shadows, or these two rows here, were kind of not like drawing me in, but these bottom two were, so that is why I pulled it in. This eye look is strictly from these bottom two rows here, and I just kind of love it. This is what the packaging looks like. You guys can see it is a beautiful, like, hollow kind of packaging. It is kind of hard to see because of the hollow on it, but it just says Enlighten across the top. It is a little bit tactile in that it is raised, but none of the, like, I don't know, paint splatters on the palette are. It is just cardboard packaging, and it looks like this on front and like this on back, so it does carry over that hollow onto the back. And all it says on the back is the name of the eyeshadow palette, and then down here you see that it is cruelty-free, it is vegan, it is gluten-free, and it has a 12-month shelf life, and that the packaging, I think it has a recyclable symbol, so I think that the packaging is recycled. I'm not sure. I know that the pans, though, are metal pans, it does look like, and it has magnets in it, so there's that. The magnets are not super stout. They're not super strong magnets, but it does keep it closed if you want it to be closed. I could see this getting like jarred open though really easily in a makeup bag. So if you have this palette and you're traveling with it, do make sure that it is, you know, pretty secure in the bag so that nothing is jarring it open. But with that said, I feel like these shadows in this are pretty hard packed, so I don't think that you're gonna run a risk of them being super fragile. This palette does come in at $25 on the IBY website, and I couldn't find it anywhere else for sale, but I did find that on IBY it has a 5-star rating. There are only 4 reviews to make up that 5-star rating. It also has a 4.5-star rating on Ipsy, and that has 17,000 reviews, or roughly 17,000 reviews. On Influencer, it has a 4.6-star rating with 55 reviews, and I have to be honest with you, I probably wouldn't even rate it around a 4. And it's not because of the colors. Honestly, I really, have gone back and forth on whether I love pastels or no, but I really did enjoy playing with the colors in this palette, but didn't enjoy the palette. And I'll get into that in a second. This does have 20 shades in it. And in those 20 shades, you have about 0.035 ounces of product per pan. So it is a smaller size, you know, pan than what we see in like a Natasha Denona, even a Natasha Denona midi size pan. But it's about the same size as what you're seeing in like the ABH. The 14 pan eyeshadow palettes, it's about the same size. This is just, you know, rectangular pans instead of square pans. These shades are supposed to be, according to the website, highly pigmented pastel mattes and shimmers that are buildable and blendable. There are exactly 3 mattes in this palette. They are this one here, and this one here. That is it. I don't think that those are appropriate. I mean, the browns, sure. But the periwinkle, I don't think is an... I think that we needed more mattes than that. And again, this is a personal preference. I do like my palettes to be a little bit more 50-50 or 60-40, like shimmers to mattes, or, you know, somewhere in that realm. I do like quite a bit more mattes, especially when I'm dealing with 20 shadows. I want more than 3 mattes in an eyeshadow palette. That's just a personal preference, but there are 8 shimmers, 1 satin, 2 foils, and 6 glitters. The pink is the satin, so you can kind of use that as a matte, kind of. Not really great, not really fun to use as a matte. This one is a foil, and you can also kind of use that as a matte. It is used kind of as a matte in my eye look today on the outer corner. This one is also a foil. I wouldn't say you could use a silver as a matte in an eye look, but it's a really gorgeous foil. But it's silver, and it is like legit straight up silver. So there's that. It is, like I said when I pointed it out on the back, it is a cruelty-free, vegan, gluten-free formula, which I give it props for. That's amazing. And when it comes to what the, you know, description on the website says about highly pigmented, buildable, and blendable, I do find that these blended really super easy. I didn't have any problems with the blend. Even this periwinkle shade in my eye, which is this matte here, even that didn't blend awful, which I thought it might because it's periwinkle, and periwinkle is pretty categorically hard to do in a way that it's easy to blend. So I really didn't find that the shadows in this were super hard to blend. I actually thought that that was an accurate statement. However, what I did not think was an accurate statement is that these, even for pastels, are not pigmented. They are not pigmented at all. And they are also not buildable. Every single eyeshadow look that I did with this palette, I had to bring in the Fun Size palette by Sugarpill to get the color payoff that I needed for it to have in an eyeshadow look. So every single look that I show you in the realm of eyeshadow looks that I was able to create with this, I had another palette built in with that eyeshadow look in order to make it what it was. The browns were just not deep enough to do anything with, and there was only, like I said, 3 mattes in this palette, so I needed a little bit more than 3 mattes. The fallout was everywhere. This palette has so much fallout. There's a lot of kick up in the pan, which is why I say I think that they're hard pressed. They create a lot of powder in the pan. Typically, well, not typically, I guess, sometimes when there's a lot of kick up in the pan, that doesn't necessarily translate to your eye looks and create fallout. With this one, it did. It was very, very powdery in the pan. It was also very, very, very powdery on an eye. So as you're blending and trying to manipulate these shadows that really aren't doing anything for you, you're creating a whole nother eyeshadow look on your cheekbones or your under eyes. And that was kind of frustrating. With that said, the glitters also, don't even attempt to use the glitters without a glue of some sort. They don't have any kind of base to them that helps them stick to your eye without any kind of glue. Even wet, they were not working. So I used the eyeshadow base that I pulled into my Shop My Stash because I knew I was bringing pigments in, the pigment base. And this is a really kind of tacky glue that I tried. Well, not glue, it's an eyeshadow primer, but it functions more like a glue. That I was like, I hate this eyeshadow primer. I tried to use it as just a plain old eyeshadow primer the first time I ever used it, and I hated it, but it works amazing as a glue, and that's what I had to use to get these glitters to stay on my eyes. The glitters also exacerbate any texture. If you have old aging eyes, if you have any kind of crepiness in your eyes, you're gonna see every bit of that with the use of these glitters. And I don't find that to be true for every single glitter. Otherwise, I wouldn't point it out. What I will say though is they are gorgeous. They are gorgeous, gorgeous glitters. I think that the shimmers and the glitters in this palette, which is good because that's what this palette is mostly made up of, are really beautiful. On my eye, I have this shimmer, and this like foiled shade. And then I have the periwinkle blue and then topped with a periwinkle blue out of the Sugar Pill palette just to give it some depth. They're gorgeous, but I still don't think that they're worthy of keeping in my collection. So if that's just a little like sneak peek on what's going to happen to this palette, I won't be keeping this palette in my collection. It just isn't worth it to me. Especially when I do anticipate I'll be buying the Natasha Denona pastel palette, and I don't need this one to be in my collection after that fact. But also, it was super frustrating to use this palette, if I'm honest. Like having to bring in, I have a stack of palettes right there that I was using in conjunction with this palette to make it perform in the way I really needed it to perform. So this palette works best with the primer, and you can absolutely forget about it if you are not using a primer. It's not going to stay on your eyes. I got maybe 5 hours of wear time before visible fading and movement on my eyes with these shadows with a primer. Without a primer, it's pretty much nil. So don't think about it without it. These also, I think I maybe said this, but I'm going to say it again just in case. These also don't build. Like the depth, if you want this pink to look like this in your eye look, it's not ever going to. This blue is on the outer V of my eye look. Do you see this dark blue there at all? No, because they just don't build up. They don't have any kind of ability to, the pigment is just not there. I mean, it just really boils down to the pigment is just not there. So this launched in spring of 2020 for IBY. It is the only IBY palette that I have in my collection. I do think that I have an IBY palette that is in my giveaway bins that I got recently in an Ipsy before I canceled it. I'm glad that it's in there, and it's in there because it's like more of a neutral color story, and I just don't need it in my collection. I also really didn't need this in my collection. I was really excited by this palette, if I'm honest. Like, it gave me all the warm, fuzzy feelings of excitement for use of an eyeshadow palette, but I can't say that I feel the same after having used it all week. So the shimmers and the glitters, like I said, they're the standouts in this palette, but I just don't need them in my collection, especially if I'll be buying that Natasha Denona pastel palette, which I 100% anticipate doing. I am going to swatch these for you. I do think that you will see that the shimmers and the glitters are the standouts through the swatches. This one here is called Moonshine. It is a white shimmer. And you guys can see that is a really impactful white shimmer. I did use this a lot in my brow bone. Almond Milk, which is kind of a beige shimmer. Then we have Hashtag Blessed, which is a really light gold shimmer. Then we have Mud Bath, which is one of the matte browns. It is kind of the chocolatey, darker version of a brown. And then we have Vortex, which is kind of more of an orange brown. I don't think that they swatch poorly. I think that they actually swatch really, really well, which is like catfishing for a palette. Second row is going to be this one, which is called Spirit Animal, and it is a sheer white. It does appear to have a little bit of pigmentation here in the swatch, but when you put it on, it's more of a kind of like a topper. There's really no base to this white, even though on top of that other white, it looks like they could be the same color. Then we have Balance, which is a sheer gold. And I think that you guys can see maybe that there's not really any kind of base to that one either. Then we have Golden Hour, which is a rose gold. Then we have Aura, which is a peach. This is called Yoga Pants. And that one is a brown taupey shimmer. That one is listed as, some of those are listed as a glitter, and I don't really find that those are glitters. Those are more shimmers. I would say that the one that is a glitter is this one here, which is the rose gold. It just looks so much prettier on my hand than it did in an eye look. Next, we have the lime green shimmer, and this one is called Oh Hi. Then we have the periwinkle blue matte, and this one is called Haiku. Then we have Sound Bath, which is a silver foil. Then we have a coral shimmer that is called Smoothie. And then we have a pink shimmer that is called Peace. Last row, we have this one here, which is called Wealth. And this was a surprising favorite for me. Well, surprising, maybe not. I mean, it is green. Green is one of my favorite colors. But it was also duochrome. I say surprising because it's a glitter. It's a very chunky glitter. And this one I could see the texture on my eyelids the worst with. But it is so, so pretty. And then we have this one, which is called Spa Day. It is a blue, dark blue foil. Then we have this one called Third Eye. It is a purple glitter. Then we have this one, which is called Crown Chakra, and it is a lavender shimmer. And I kind of accidentally went right over the top of that other one with that. Let's see. And then we have the pink satin, and it is called Dragon Fruit. And those are the shades. Now, like I said, I think that they do swatch rather well, but I also think that you can see there's just a whole lot of redundancy in this palette, especially on this hand here. There's a lot of redundancy in this palette that didn't need to exist, but there's also not a whole lot of pigment. The glitters were fine. They were beautiful. That green glitter, like I said, is kind of like a duochrome, like green antique bronze. It's really pretty, but this is just not, it's just not a palette that I need to have in my collection because, like I said, I did struggle with it quite a lot. It frustrated me every time I tried to put an eye look together, even a basic one, because A, there wasn't enough mattes in the palette, but also B, I had to bring in a different palette to get the depth in the eye look that I really wanted. I have tested a lot of pastel palettes on here, and pastel is not one of my favorite like color stories, but it is also a really pretty color story, and I can work with it as much as I need to. And I enjoy it when I am working with it, as long as it's a good pastel. I did feel like these were not great pastels. The Sugar Pill palette is, you know, case in point of me working with a pastel palette that I actually enjoy working with. So this palette is not worth it, in my opinion, not even worth the $25. But I do have to say, when I finally looked it up and found the price point for it, I was like, oh, that explains it. They don't have to do magical things with their eyeshadows because you're paying $25 for 20 eyeshadows. Like, they're like $1 a piece, just over $1 a piece. Like, they don't have to put in a whole lot of effort. The fact of the matter is, though, is that it shows in this palette. Like, BH Cosmetics you could get, and I know they filed bankruptcy, but here's the thing. Like, BH Cosmetics created such beautiful, affordable palettes for so long, charged next to nothing for them, $1 a pan, but they performed better than $1 a pan. These definitely did not. I would never suggest this, not even at the $25 price point. And I'm going to give it to my daughter to play with because I couldn't even fathom selling it. It's kind of a shit palette. So with that said, I am going to go pick out my new palette. I will be right back. Okay, so the palette I picked was a palette I thought I wanted to pick last week when we pulled the Enlighten palette in. And I have really good experiences with this brand. I did enjoy the Berlin Untergrund palette that I reviewed by them, but this is the Nomad Cartagena Magica. I don't know. Destination, Cartagena, Colombia. Okay, coordinates, Porta del Rey. I don't know. The inspiration is magical religion, realism, magical realism. Oh my God. Get it together, Donna. So this is the palette. This is what the front of it looks like. And this is what it looks like inside. I'm so excited. And this matches my old hair, but not, well, I guess it kind of matches my new hair too, if you think about the little prism that's in there. So there's that. You guys like my new hair? I love my new hair. And it's funny because here I am saying pastels hasn't been one of my favorite color stories ever, but my hair the last 2 times has been very pastel. So I'm really kind of digging this hair. We did it for conference. I'm so excited about conference and so excited about what this will look like perfectly 3 weeks from now while we go to conference. So 4 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, I think it's 3 weeks from now. But this is the palette that I will be using over the next week. I hope that you guys will want to tune in next week to see how I feel about this palette. And as I'm filming this, I did just get my hair done yesterday. And so you guys are going to see a bunch of videos with my old hair. I'm not going back and forth. You all know how this works. I stay pretty pre-filmed because I have to, because I work more than full time. But also with that said, I found a video that I recorded that I'm really pretty proud of. It's a series that I had hoped to start on my channel and was wondering what the heck happened to this video. I found it. So I will be editing that video and sticking it up too. It's my hair like 3 hair ago. So there's that. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you liked it. I hope you found some kind of information that you were looking for, or just that you were entertained. Let me know if you have that IBY palette and if you love it or hate it. I would be interested to know your thoughts and opinions. And with that said, thank you guys so much for coming today. Please subscribe before you go. Please hit that notification bell if you do that. Please give it a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. But I do hope that you guys are doing well, that April is treating you kindly so far 6 days in, and that you all are safe, sound, healthy. You're loving each other, but loving each other from afar. And until next time, bye friends.